Is it okay? So Vivek, can you introduce and yeah.
Yeah. Are you live? Yes. Hello, people. So now we have Maneesh from GitHub who will be speaking about celebrating India's open source community. So over to you, Manish.
Thanks, Vivek and Vishal. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. It's a lovely Sunday morning. I've traveled down to Bangalore. I am just next to the Common Park, so in a hotel. So you might see some lighting issues, which I had not planned for. But it's a great feeling to be here and meeting a lot of the developer folks talking about open source, talking about projects that they're working on. And I'm super excited to be here talking to all of you. Vishal was telling me there were some tech issues, and I said, that's the fun part of working in tech, always solving problems. And I'm sure I don't need to talk much about GitHub, but it's been really exciting working with the developer community here in India. It's the fastest growing developer community on GitHub, and it's been led by open source. In fact, India is leading the way in the number of open source projects which are getting created on GitHub over the last 1 year, which just goes to show all the exciting stuff that is happening in the market. And I've been talking about a lot on the ecosystem piece, and I think open source and working in the open source community has been around for a very, very long time. I've been working with the community on and off in different roles that I have done over the last 2 decades and above. So yeah, I am quite old in the tech ecosystem. But what is interesting to see is the number of developers that are now coming and contributing into the open source ecosystem from India, and that is what really excites me. It's not only the professional developer community. We're seeing students also coming and trying to learn on what does it mean to contribute back into the ecosystem, in the open source ecosystem. And I feel privileged to be able to play a part as GitHub, enabling students, enabling the open source ecosystem through the platform. And what we're also starting to see are lots of projects. So, Frappe is and ERP Next is a great example of projects that are coming out of India, open source project, where contributors from around the world are starting to come and collaborate. And we're seeing a lot of these projects being taken up by different countries as they expand into what they would like to solve as their challenges in their countries, because the problems that the projects in India are solving are really at scale, and that really is something that everybody is GitHub is looking forward to seeing a lot more of. And I'm sure you've been sort of following through what we've been doing over the last 2 years. I see GitHub as a catalyst in the ecosystem. We are here to support what developers like each one of you are doing and what the projects are trying to achieve. We just want to make sure that we support them. And there are lots of these initiatives that you probably would have heard of that we've been announcing. We did announce earlier this year a couple of them that I can share with you now. One was the open source grants. So one of the feedback that I personally received from a lot of you when I've been speaking to them over the last 18 months is, how can we get more and more support for open source project by way of funding? We announced that we will fund 1 crore rupees to open source developers who are really building excellent stuff that are being used by the community, that is really pushing forward the innovation that the community needs. We did announce the first recipients, 15 of them, a couple of months back. So I will be happy to share with you the list. You can go and take a look at it. And you can take a look at all the fun projects that are being created right now. The other thing, team, that we announced was externships. And I know internships and externships are something that students always talk about, but we wanted to do something very specific to the open source community. If you look at it, open source is something that every enterprise is using, right? They're building it into the software that they're building. They're using it to run a lot of the IT infrastructure that they have. So why not get students to work on these open source projects, which in fact are the real world applications that are being used by customers? And we did the first cohort this summer, and we got some fantastic response from not only students who participated, but open source projects and enterprises who support open source. And our role as GitHub as being the platform that connects both of these really helped grow that engagement in the community. We're looking to launch another cohort in winter, and I think this is something that we will continue to do. So that's the second thing that we've been doing to support the open source ecosystem. And the third program that we launched was GitHub Accelerate. While we have many open source projects which are being run in India, I think we're seeing an interesting trend start to emerge, which is open source led companies as well. So how do you create a product or create a business model and scale it across the globe as a startup? So with a lot of the open source projects on GitHub having gone through that journey of building in the community and then taking it from a commerce perspective to enterprises and still getting contributions and growing your product and company. So those are some experiences in the startup ecosystem that we're starting to build together as well. We launched this program early this year, and the response again has been really fantastic. We're looking at doing some boot camps, specifically supporting open source projects that are looking to monetize and become startups and go into the ecosystem. So these are some of the great things that are happening. But I think overall, if I step back, our objective is to provide support. My objective of this session was to talk to you all about what we've been doing and also share that please reach out to me, please reach out to the GitHub team. I'm always available. My handle is msupernot@github.com. Open to a lot of ideas and open to a lot of feedback, positive and negative, on how we can support the ecosystem a lot better, because we have one simple objective, which is to support developers and support the open source ecosystem as they grow. And for me personally, driving that in India is the real motivator. So I wanted to keep it short. I didn't want any presentations. I know there have been a lot of work that it's been going on in this hack. Really thankful to the FOSS United community in inviting GitHub for this, and looking forward to all your support and all your feedback and all your ideas on how we as GitHub can support you a lot better. I'm also open to questions now. So Vishal, Vivek, if there are any questions that the audience has, I would be happy to answer as well. Thank you so much. That's it for me. Keeping it short and simple.
No questions so far, Maneesh. Okay.
Thank you, Manish. We haven't received any questions.
Sure. No problem.